The title is over, the season is over, and now we're going to get into testing for MotoGP. But before we get into that, let's take a look at the 5 things we learned from the Valencian Grand Prix this weekend. Race of attrition. Just 14 people finished the feature race this weekend, one of the highest attrition rates, I believe, of the year. And this made me contemplate the issue of the seasons getting longer in MotoGP, because as they do, this Valencian Grand Prix has been pushed out further and further towards the European winter, and that causes issues around tyre temperature in particular. Obviously, as tyres get colder, they provide less grip, and I think we saw the result of that this weekend with lots of people crashing, particularly in the latter stages of the races. I think that probably came down to tyres cooling down, temperatures dropping, and that could be a problem for MotoGP in the future. I wonder if they need to start considering looking at a different venue for the final round, somewhere with a little bit more of a temperate climate, to hold the final race of the season if they want to keep running such long seasons. Otherwise, they have to look at compressing the season down to make sure that the Valencian Grand Prix isn't held quite so late. Razlan retiring. Strictly speaking, Razlan Razali, the owner or team principal or whatever he was of RNF, isn't retiring. I'm sure he'll find work doing something else. He's worked around motorsport before MotoGP, before running a team, and I'm sure he'll slot in somewhere and we'll see him around again. But he is leaving MotoGP, and it's a real shame. He's had a big impact on the paddock, bringing the likes of Fabio Quartararo onto the grid. He had Rossi in his team. Aprilia's first satellite team, of course, this year was his team. And so he is leaving, and for whatever reason has decided to go and find some new challenges. It has obviously been difficult for that RNF team for the last few years, but it was a real shame to see him go. And yeah, it sounds like an American NASCAR team or something like that is slotting into RNF. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out next year. They have had a difficult time of it despite the new Aprilia bikes this year, and so it'll be interesting to see how they do next year. Hopefully a little bit more time will help that team out. But either way, sad to see Razlan leaving, and that was a little bit of news from this weekend that I wasn't expecting to hear. Podium leavers. 3 of the riders swapping teams for 2024, Marc Marquez, Fabio Di Giannantonio, and Johann Zarco, all managed podiums this weekend, which was a very nice way for them all to round off their times in their respective teams. Starting off with Marc Marquez, of course, leaving for Gresini. It was very good to see him get a sprint race podium. It isn't a feature race podium, but still, I'm sure that was a very special moment for him to get that in the final round to achieve such a good result. I actually think he could have possibly pushed for the podium in the feature race as well, had it not been for that clash with Jorge Martin. But either way, very nice to see Marquez round off his time, his record-breaking time at Repsol Honda with, a podium in his final race. That was quite cool. Next, of course, we had Digia, who, as of what I know right now, doesn't yet have a seat for next year, but it sounds like he will slot into that seat alongside Bezzecchi in VR46. He did another excellent job this weekend. He was so close to a win, but managed another podium. He's been on an excellent run of form, deserves a seat for next year, but either way, he's leaving his Gresini team. And so it was very nice to see him wrap up his time in that team with another podium. Good to see. And finally, Johann Zarco, who, got his first race win this year with Prima Pramac. Very good to see him get a final podium as well, and actually start from the front row in the final round. Good weekend for him all up, and it was very nice to see them, all of them, get their podiums in their final rounds for their respective teams. Hard fought Jorge. You can say a lot about Jorge Martin. He's incredibly talented, fast on one lap, very capable in the sprint races, as we've seen this year. But the biggest thing I think we've learned this season about Jorge Martin is he doesn't give up until the very end, and we saw this very much this weekend. You know, he walked into this round with 21-point gap to Bagnaia. Really, he wasn't going to make that up realistically, but he didn't give up when probably a lot of riders would have accepted their fate. And he took that sprint race win, and he was pushing as hard as he could. And yes, that resulted in a crash. Bit of a shame that that's the way the title had to end. It would have been nice to see him battle Bagnaia down to the end and really push him for the rest of the race. But either way, it was a seriously impressive, tenacious ride from Jorge Martin this weekend. He was playing the mind games. He was doing everything he needed to, and he didn't give up until the absolute last second. Even in that crash, he was holding onto the bike into the gravel trap for as long as he could. So yeah, I think that's a very amazing effort from Jorge this year and this weekend. Double Ducati. Pecco Bagnaia is our world champion for 2023. He makes it 2 in a row and becomes a double world champion in the process in the Premier class. 3rd world championship that he's ever gotten, if you include his intermediate class victory. And it was a very impressive weekend and year, actually, from Pecco Bagnaia. He was on the podium for 15 out of the 16 feature races that he finished, which is a seriously impressive result. And congratulations to him, a double world champion, another excellent result. And he's going to be the one to beat next year once again. Rider of the weekend. Fabio Di Giannantonio has to be my rider of the weekend, and I'm sure he's plenty of yours. He did an amazing job this weekend. He was on the grid down in 11th. It wasn't the most successful qualifying for him, so for him to clamber his way up in the feature race up to 2nd place and really push Bagnaia for that win. I mean, he didn't give up till the end. Was very impressive, and I don't see how on earth he wouldn't get a seat for next year. After the performances in the last 2 rounds, he's shown he deserves it. He's worked so well under pressure, and this weekend proved it again. Struggle of the weekend. Luca Marini is my struggle of the weekend. He just had a really kind of dull weekend. I don't know if he was sick or something, or I'm trying to remember if he was injured, but either way, it was just a bad weekend all around. 17th on the grid, 17th in the sprint, and yes, 9th in the feature race was kind of an improvement, but it was a race of attrition and a lot of people crashed out ahead of him. So just not a very impressive result, and not the way you'd really want to see anyone end their time at their brother's team, which he of course is. He's moving on to Honda, and yeah, I'm sure he would have liked better for his final race for the VR46 team. Finally, I want to say congratulations to the Drifter22 who topped the Gravel Trap MotoGP Fantasy League. We'll be running it again next year, but yeah, well done on winning that. Pretty clear of the field. I think it was 100 points, so that's a very good result, and you can say that you beat everyone on this channel, so well done. Alright, that's the 2023 MotoGP season wrapped up. We've got testing now, I guess. Very exciting, lots of riders on new bikes. Marc Marquez on a Ducati, we'll see how that goes. I don't know if I'll do any content around the testing. Plenty of other people writing articles who know more about this kind of stuff than I do. But I will be doing some kind of wrap up. If you remember from the start of the year, I did a predictions survey, which we'll be doing again for 2024. And I'll be looking through your answers as well as mine to see who did better in that, hopefully in the next couple of weeks. So look forward to that video. Thank you very much for watching all of this season. It's been great to make these videos for you guys, even if I've had to strip them down, limit the amount that I was doing in the last couple of months. But great to have lots of people returning all the time. So yeah, thank you very much for watching all season. Goodbye.